Well, hi there, it's Barry, and gosh, I wanted to take some time that I hope you all find well spent after watching this, but I wanted to address a question. Here I am on a nice weekend here in late August, and just answering some daily emails and kind of taking it easy under the old shade tree for a bit. And yet another one or two came in asking what originally was the violence in DR, which I didn't answer that because here we are over a month and a half later, and do you see what I mean? It's a wash, rinse, repeat world. And what I mean from that is sit back and ask yourself, and we have information. The real relevant question is, do we have perspective? And we don't. I can't remember what actor once said, but I thought it was an amazing quote. He said, those of us that don't watch news are uninformed. Those of us that do watch mass media news are misinformed. And what inspired me to do this video, and I hope you bear with me because I'm just ad-libbing it along, is a while ago we started Ask Me Anything, and I'd say for about 85% of the questions that old Barry gets asked, a lot of them might be about the DR, a lot of them might be about our region, an awful lot of them are about immigration, quite a few of them are commodities based because those that have been readers or subscribers for 5, 6, 7 years now already know I just by asking the right questions, I guess, or maybe knowing one or two people around the world that can supply the information I need, who have over the years determined that they're friends and not just acquaintances. We've been spot accurate on where silver would be 5 years later, where gold would be. And those of you that follow that know it's starting to take an upswing. I don't go take off to the moon because it seems every time they say something's launching to the moon, somehow the afterburner seems to misfire and it comes right back down to Earth. So I can't say it's going to the moon yet, but it is adhering to what I said. You won't see an increase until you start seeing a lack of confidence in government. And public investment has switched to private over the last long while, meaning the stock market, which is booming. And great, I'm not here to debate what's false, what's real, what's staged, what's not. That's up for you to decide. But the point is, silver and gold have started to move upward. Why? Well, there's a lack of confidence. It's finally setting into the average mind. So when I say we have information, but do we have perspective? A lot of questions have been coming in, which I can't really redirect people to the Something Feels Wrong website under the Frequently Asked Questions section, which I encourage you all to visit because you'll find most of your questions are answered there. But it was about the violence. Now, what started off as the violence in the DR, those, several of those couples that supposedly got murdered, which I want to bring to your attention about perspective. We were given the information about the murders. We weren't given the perspective again. How come that's fallen off the face of the map? Latest and most current information I could find is almost a month old. So you see about wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. They keep your mind in a constant state of fear, by that matter. If they had found anything, including the two couples that made it public that they're doing an autopsy back in their home country, they're shipping the body back to do another autopsy. Well, don't you think an autopsy is about 2 to 3 days? Don't you think if anything came out that was very damaging, it would have been smeared all over the internet and all over the mass medias? What happened? Nothing. So keep that in the back of your mind when I go forward with this. You have information. Ask yourself, do you have perspective? I can't stress how important that question is. So continuing on, I want to talk a little bit about the questions I'm getting on violence. What started out with the violence in the DR, crime, and what's taken a kind of a 180-degree shift to my subscribers, and that is asking more about the violence that's occurring in over in the western nation of the U.S. As a Canadian, I kind of get not upset, but how so many times, we're cast into the same mold about Canadians, Americans being very... There's even a joke about today's definition of a Canadian is an unarmed American with health insurance, meaning that we're basically the same, but in some cases we are, but in an awful lot of cases we're not. I want to call your attention to one subject, which is violence, because that's a subject everybody's writing in questions about. Were you aware that Canada's had 16 mass murders since 1885? Okay. The United States has had 254 mass murders across the nation now since January 1st, 2019. So, quoting a prolific mind, enough said. No, there's no comparison, not even close, in that particular area. What I've also found out is in today's wash, rinse, repeat world, it's far easier to lie to people than it is to convince them they've been lied to. Okay, keep that in the back of your mind as we go forward. An important thing which has netted me a handful of close friends, thousands of acquaintances, but a handful of close friends, and I use them distinctively different. Because it's truly a sad situation when you have imaginary friends, like on social media, but I firmly believe what's even sadder is when you have imaginary enemies. Think about that for a moment. People who don't want you to think are never your friends. Okay, so let's move forward with this and try to understand the root of what this is coming, because when people ask me the question, is it safe there? Now, I kind of sit back and chuckle, but remember, I'm on my side of the counter. And yes, we have crime here too. That's the information. Is it the perspective? Are there random mass shootings? Are there mass shootings in schools, bars, colleges, shopping centers? The answer to that is no. Plain and simple, no. Has it ever happened? Of course, but that's not even a relevant question, nor is it fair. I think you'd find it happened in every country and every part of the world throughout its history. I'm talking about on a regular basis. Now just go back and to just clarify where I'm going with this. What started out about 6.5 weeks ago, roughly, and don't quote me if it's but 6.5, 7 weeks ago, started with a garlic festival in California mass shootings. Since then, you've had mass shootings in Ohio, Baltimore, a few in Texas, also I believe Alabama, Leanne told me about. I'm not even following it to any degree anymore, because to me it makes total sense if you understand what is being applied here, the perspective. The perspective boils down to a divide and conquer. It's irrelevant if the divide is due to politics. It's irrelevant if the divide is due to color of skin, sexual preference. See, the bottom line is we're all human beings. It's irrelevant if the divide is caused by some exoteric religious belief. A belief, analyzing the word where it comes from, is merely something you're in love with, and an idea or a situation that you're in love with has nothing to do with truth. Another interesting point I want to throw out in this video also is perhaps you might want to look up definition of news, because everyone's saying I follow the news and the news isn't accurate and the news is not truthful. Well, that is probably relevant, but the point is, look up the definition of what news is and you'll never see truth. You'll see a story of interest. You'll see a form of entertainment. You'll see a form of bringing a interesting topic to the public. Never do they use the word truth. So understand where the words come from. Understand the guiding force, why this is being done to you. And it's certainly not to provide you accurate information. So without sidetracking anymore, I want people who do subscribe and to go back 5 years, 6 years, 4 years, whatever it is, and you're going to see how much writing that I did in the past that I got tired of doing, because I suppose it's up to people to do their own information. And even though it was, and it still is, because I'm seeing people week after week coming out to visit us, do your own research, but unbiasedly. You see, the thing about humans and an adult, as an adult, people often ask me, Barry, why don't people see this? Why people can't learn? Why can't people just drop their defenses and unbiasedly see what's going on? Well, you see, the way I've looked at it and the way I've seen it from all the people I meet from around the world is, the problem with us as a species is, specifically when we're in an adult species, an adult form of the species rather, learning is not a problem. We learn how to do math. We learn how to hate. We learn how to be prejudiced. The problem with us as an adult form in our species is we can't unlearn. That's where the problem is. It's not learning. When you believe, and again, look up the definition of the word, when you think you know, in order to learn something new, you have to unlearn first before you can learn. Now, in my 3+ decade I guess journey, because it never ends, of actually stripping away what I thought I knew, what I was raised in, and what is actually truth, that was probably the hardest thing I ever did in my life, the hardest endeavor. It took me 3-4 years of stripping away what I thought I knew to empty the vessel to a point where I can add more to the vessel. If the vessel is full, if a vessel holds 10 ounces, a glass holds 10 ounces, you can't put 11 in it. To add that additional ounce, you must let out at least an ounce, or the vessel can't hold anymore. So when you begin to understand things from that perspective, you're going to start to understand how badly you've been misled, how badly you've been lied to, and how the sources that are actually controlling this mayhem have actually got us believing it's ourselves doing it by means of divide and conquer. Oh, if your sexual preference is gay, fine. But oh, it's all the straights. They're against us. If you are a person of color, it's all the Caucasians, they're against us. The red is against the yellow against the black against the white. And everybody, is against the red, or the mid-colors. We're all human beings. See, if we're divided, they've got us where they want us. And if that's the content so be it. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, maybe singularly, no. But as a group, there's tons we can do about it. If you don't, your free will allows you to say, that's fine, I'll live with it. My world's okay. Don't care about what's going on around it, but my world's okay. My 2 kids are okay. My grandchild's okay. If that's the limit of your intelligence, intelligence is taking information and assembling it in a chronological order. It's not wisdom, it's intelligence. If that's the limit of your intelligence, well, I ask you, what's changed in 6,000 years since the Sumerians? Nothing, except the technology. I've said that in many of my posts, and I've actually grown tired of writing about that subject. You will experience in your society the amount of freedom and the amount of peace that is directly in correlation with the level of conscious thought of the people of that nation. So anyway, rounding third and heading for home, I want to keep this video to a reasonable length. It's rare that I do go into something that I've covered so much in the past, again, so deeply, but I do feel it's that important. I want to make a few closing statements, okay, regardless of where everybody is in their thought patterns, is maybe perhaps thinks your beliefs don't make you a better person, it's your behavior that does. So I'm asking you, I guess indirectly, it's tough, but for so many it is, and it was for me too, but I'm asking you to think, don't follow. Before I go any further, I want to make one quick audio edit, and that is when I asked you to check the definition of the word belief. Don't do that. I want you to check, what I meant to say was check the origin of the word belief. Okay, I'm very much into studying where words come from, the various Latin bases that form our English language, so much of it anyway. So I want you to look up the origin, okay? Ask yourself again, we have information, but do we have perspective? I've used the word perspective several times in this video. It was with intent that I did that. Two last points I want to kind of make here, and that is it's vital that you understand if you keep thinking from this subjective pretense, eventually we're all going to learn a very difficult lesson. It's a universal law, so it's immutable, and we're going to learn it the hard way. Eventually we're all going to fall victim to the painful lesson of understanding freedom is not subjective, it's collective. Meaning if we're not all free, in reality nobody is. Okay, ponder on that for a bit. This is not only pertaining to the recent violence. I did, again, go back and read my prior post. You're going to see 2 years ago I was going to say prior, after, if it's a Trump election, prior to the second election, you're going to start see, after that first election, sometime in that term, you're going to see a strong uptick in violence. You're beginning, just beginning to see that now. I expect this to continue rather frequently after the November election, okay? But I'm not going to ponder too much upon it. I guess the most important thing I want to close off with, and then old Barry's going to enjoy the rest of his day here. And out of all the divides, out of all the wars, out of all the chaos that we're currently experiencing in the world, ask yourself, the only thing that they share in common is it doesn't matter if you're a corpse. Okay? To a corpse, none of them makes any difference. That's the only thing they actually share in common. So, folks, I encourage you, as silly as this sounds, start unlearning and learn to live and be flexible and adapt. And that's truly where you're going to find the so-called Garden of Eden, or whatever you'd like to term it. Okay, I hope this helps, and I hope this addresses all at once all the people that have been writing me in on violence. Again, we also on the YouTube channel have a section that says Ask Me Anything, and all you good folks, if you do have a question that you would like addressed and you think it might help others to hear it, I'll gladly give you my unbiased 2 cents. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to say that. I might know how to find it, but I might not know it myself. Okay, but we'll get to a resource that can answer that properly. Okay, so thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate all the subscribing. Appreciate all the folks coming down to see us. And until next time, this is old Barry in DR. We'll talk to you soon.